Oh, hello. It is Sunday, August I don't know, 18th. And I read an amount of books to talk about last week. So let us get going. First up, the first book I read is Lost Boy, Lost Girl by Peter Straub. And this is the story of this family. We follow this, the first character we're introduced to is the uncle, and his brother's wife has just killed herself. And when he goes to visit the family, the son seems a little bit off, and then the son disappears. We do follow the son for a bit there, kind of learning about why he disappeared. Turns out the wife was related to a serial killer who is really just kind of Joseph Callinger in disguise. And it's very kind of esoteric and ethereal. It's not very good. I don't know. Peter Straub for me is mostly a miss. I enjoy the books he wrote with Stephen King. I really liked A Special Place. Everything else I've read from him has been kind of meh at best. He's technically not a bad writer. Objectively speaking, his writing is fine, but his plots are really, I think, where it kind of drags for me. It was also semi-hilarious watching him, listening to him try to describe teenagers in the early 2000s. That was funny. But overall, I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Like, it wasn't very good. Then I reread a childhood favorite. That is The Cuckoo Clock of Doom by R.L. Stine. This follows this boy named Michael, and he's got a younger sister, Tara, who is just awful. She's awful. She's terrible. And one day his father brings home this cuckoo clock, this antique cuckoo clock, and Tara gets into trouble a couple times from kind of messing around with it. So Michael's idea is that if he goes down there and he messes around with it more, they'll blame Tara. So he goes down and he turns the bird's head backwards, and then time starts going backwards, and he has to figure out how to get this going before he's erased from existence. So I know that objectively speaking, technically speaking, this is not one of the better Goosebumps books. It's a little weird. I do also, whenever I think about this, I think about the Goosebumps Hulu TV series, where they really just took not even vague ideas, because it didn't even go back in time for the Cuckoo Clock of Doom stuff. They just took a cuckoo clock, and nobody messed with the bird. The cat boy just hit his head. So that was all I was thinking about when I read this. But it is such a childhood book for me, that I have some fondness for. I read this a lot of times when I was a kid, and also this is, I think, one of the most fun covers. I really like it. So that was fun. I gave it how many? I give it 4 out of 5 nostalgia stars. All right, then I read a Kindle book, or a Kindle short story. I accidentally downloaded Pounded by the Physical Manifestation of the Weird Dull Sadness That Happens After the Holidays End and January Rolls Around by Chuck Tingle. So I was like, what the hell, I'll read it. It was Chuck Tingle. It was a Chuck Tingle short. I am still like amazed at how fucking good of a writer Chuck Tingle is. I really liked Camp Damascus, and I will probably be reading Bury Your Gaze at some point. So I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, 3 out of 5 stars. I don't remember. All right, next I read another fun little, well, this is more of like sci-fi horror. I don't know. It's Leech by Hiron Ennis. And so Leech is a dystopian sort of book. We follow our main character, who is part of a group of very kind of mysterious doctors, and we do learn as the book goes on, very early on in the book, that these doctors are really all just kind of one parasite that has infected a bunch of different people, but they all have like the same brain, hive mind kind of thing. My first thought was almost kind of like a Yerk situation, except for the Yerks don't. I don't think the Yerks have a hive mind. But then this our main character, the doctor, she goes up to this chateau, and it's very vaguely French, except for they have a Wendigo, which is just a French Wendigo, which is fun. And so yeah, everything's vaguely French. So she goes to this chateau where the old doctor from the parasite had died previously, and she thinks it's kind of like a routine thing, but then she realizes that something was in this other doctor, this new parasite, that disconnected this other doctor from the hive mind. And it's a whole thing, and it's very tragic, really. Watching the character kind of accept and figure out who they are, and if they really are something, and you do even see the parasite kind of struggle with that, like, what was this, right? What was going on? And it is, it's gross at times. It is kind of gross at times with the worm stuff, but it's thought-provoking. It's weird. It's the way it's written is very dense, And again, we have a bunch of semi-French words stuck in there. They're like semi-anglicized sort of French words in a weird kind of accent that, like, if you know vague French, you can kind of pick out what words they're supposed to be. So that was kind of fun for me, you know, personally. But no, I give it 4.75 out of 5 stars. This one was really like, I liked it the more I read it. When I first started, I was like, I don't know how this is gonna go, but then I kept reading it, and I did really enjoy it. I would say I'd say it's worth a look if it sounds interesting. All right, next I read Goosebumps Presents TV episode number 1, The Girl Who Cried Monster. This is the TV adaptation of The Girl Who Cried Monster, so it's The Girl Who Cried Monster, but it's shorter, with pictures from the movie embedded in there. This is actually one I did have as a child too. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. So then I read another horror novel that's not really a horror novel. I read The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay. So this is about this guy, Art, and when he was a teenager in the 80s, he was very awkward and he didn't fit in, and he needed an extracurricular for college, so he formed this pallbearers club where people will go and they'd be kind of like volunteer pallbearers for people who died and didn't have people to do that for them, which it's very nice, very nice. And through this he does meet this girl, and she is like she's kind of like she's almost like a manic pixie dream girl kind of stuff. She's the coolest person, she's a punk, she introduces him to a lot of stuff, but there's something that's a little bit off about her, and he is pretty sure that she's like a vampire or something. So this is not a horror novel. I do think that Paul Tremblay has been typecast into a horror writer because of Cabin at the End of the World, which I don't even know if that was like an out and out horror novel. I did read that one. It was fine. I liked this one more than I liked that one, but I know he's written some other like actually straight up horror novels since. So I think he's kind of stretching his literary muscles in this one, because as we have Art, you know, writing his memoir. We also have the girl that he's talking about. She inserts her little notes and stuff in there, and it is one of those weird situations where you're reading, you're like, oh, I don't even know what's real. I don't think any of this is real. But then you're like, no shit, none of it's real. It's a fiction novel. Kind of like how I was feeling with like when I read Devil House. That was what it reminded me of, so that was kind of fun because I really did love Devil House. But no, this is not a horror novel. It's really not. There are some moments that are a little bit eerie, I suppose, but it's a very good novel. It's not a horror novel. I will probably be talking about it in a horror novel kind of wrap, which is because so many people do kind of erroneously describe it as a horror novel. It's not. It's very good though. So I gave it, I think, 4.75 out of 5. 4.5. Not quite as good as Leech. All right. Then I read another book on my Kindle. I read Swimmer Boy by Jay Argent. Bad book. It was bad. It is a self-published gay romance about these 2 boys in high school, and one of them is new to school and he's so excited and he goes to school and everybody just calls him slurs and beats him up. I'm like, oh my god, look at this. It's not well written, and like the characterization was kind of weird, especially considering regarding the other boy, the love interest. He got gay real fast, with no prior hints. Like, I honestly thought that the love interest, that they were trying to do a bait and switch with a different love interest because he was giving more hints. So there was that. It wasn't very good. It was not very good. I think I got it for free though on Kindle. I'm sure it's on Kindle Unlimited. I read it. Then the last book I read was also not very good. We're on a downward slope after the Pallbearers Club, I guess. That is The Ogre's Pact by Troy Denning. This is a Forgotten Realms D&D book following a Furbolg and a princess, and her dad sold her to giants. Sorry, I think that's a spoiler. There's ogres. Ogres get her. It's about as good as any other D&D novel you read. I don't think I've read a single fucking good goddamn D&D novel. I guess one of the Critical Role ones I read, the Vex and Vax one, that one was pretty good. But that was with established characters, just in kind of like a D&D setting. This is just a D&D setting with the author having to make up their own characters, and it didn't go very well. This is the kind of fantasy that I was reading when I thought I didn't like fantasy. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. So these are the books I read this past week. This week school starts, so I don't know. I'm either going to read a lot more because I'm like trying to avoid things that I should be doing, or I'm going to read a lot less because I'm you know, have work. But yeah, this is it. I will talk to you later, and goodbye.